Hey guys, how are you? I hope you're all doing very well. This evening I'm going to be doing a movie review. This movie is a thriller from Australia, English language, released in the year 2009, directed by Crib Stenders, and this film is called Lucky Country. And the story of Lucky Country is as follows. 1902, the Australian Federation is 1 year old. 12-year-old Tom's beloved father Nat has dragged him and his sister to an isolated cabin in the bush, with an evangelical dream to farm the land. But the dream has died and Nat is losing his grip on sanity. When three men arrive on horseback, ex-soldiers from the Boer War, Tom, like his father, believes they are Providence, but their presence becomes more menacing when one reveals a rumour of gold. As this news starts to poison all around him, the cabin becomes a terrifying psychological battleground in which Tom is forced to choose between the ideals of his father and the basic laws of survival. So the movie is set in 1902. Australia is 1 year old, and everything is desperate. A lot of people are poor, and they just don't know how to make a living, and gold is highly sought after. So a lot of gold miners go out to the remote bushland, and they try and dig up some gold, just something to get a living. So Nat is the main character. He is a very religious father of two. He's got a daughter and a son. He doesn't have his wife along with him anymore, and he has gone to the remote areas of the bush in order to farm the land. But the farming has not turned out the way he thought it would. He has a very religious outlook on life. He says that God is going to help him, but God hasn't helped him, and that they are, in fact, in a lot of trouble. So Nat, as a result of this, starts to lose his sanity. He starts to get a little bit frustrated with everything, and it becomes all too overwhelming. Things are going to be further complicated when one day they are approached by three strangers on horseback, and they say that they have just been released from the Boer War in South Africa, and that they have one member of their party who is gravely ill. And if they travel overnight, they feel that he might die. So Nat says that they can stay in his cabin overnight and that they'll be on their way in the morning. But things, once again, take a turn for the worst when they stay put, and there is a rumour of one of the strangers hiding some gold. And so if this rumour is true, it's going to prove very difficult for everybody involved. So what happens at that point on, the cabin turns into a very psychological sort of battleground in where a lot of people are trying to outwit the other person in order to get that life that everybody is striving for. So what happens at that point on, that's something you're going to have to find out for yourself, because that's as far as I'm going with my synopsis. Now, my thoughts on this movie. Crib Stenders has delivered yet another very good Australian film. Now, Crib Stenders made Red Dog, which I consider one of the best Australian movies ever made. And the thing I like about Crib Stenders is that he makes films for the love of film. He's not just making movies like you get the typical Australian movie where it's made for television, it's just crap, doesn't have any depth, it just feels like a really weak and lazy film. And unfortunately, they are all too common these days. And movies like this are few and far between. So Crib Stenders, what I love about this movie so much is that it paints Australia in a very different light. A lot of people consider Australia beautiful. The landscapes are, fantastic. It's a wonderful place. It's all fluffy, and it's just, it's the ideal place to live. It's paradise. But then you get movies like this where the director isn't afraid to use Australia's beautiful landscape as a very harrowing experience. And this is exactly what Lucky Country is. It's a very depressing film. So if you're not in a good mood and you need cheering up, this is definitely not the movie for you. It's a movie about desperation. It's a movie about a family dynamics in the midst of desperation. You've got Nat, who is slowly losing his grip on his sanity. The progression from a normal state of mind to insane was really fascinating. I could really connect with this father. I thought that he had a genuine love of his children, but providing for his children was becoming so difficult that it was starting to get overwhelming. So I felt so much sympathy for him, and that has helped through, it's translated through the screen by this guy's performance. I'm not quite aware of who this guy is, but fantastic actor, and the acting from everybody involved was great. I love the family dynamics amongst this young family. You've got the sister who is forced to basically grow up very quickly, and it shows you the loss of childhood amongst difficult circumstances, which doesn't only apply to this era of Australia, but also these days. You get some children who are forced to grow up because they're going through something quite difficult, and it's really sad to see, because children deserve to have a childhood. Children deserve to gradually grow up into the authority figures, not being thrust in there straight away, which is exactly what happens to this sister. The sister feels that she is the reasoning, that the father is going off his head, and to provide for the son, she has to step up. So it's that kind of difference between childhood and adulthood, and it shows you that although she tries her best, she has the best intentions, it's overwhelming for her because she is in fact just a kid. At heart, she is a kid. She's got a lot of growing up to do, so she tries her best, but she's overwhelmed, and every character is overwhelmed. And then you got Tom, who I thought was the most interesting character, a very young man, but in some ways he was the most brave. He was the one with the most strength because he sees all these bad things happening, but he keeps it together. And he's really the hero of the film. And I really thought, once again, it was fascinating how his life unfolded before the viewer's eyes. So the characters of the family were great. Then you've got the strangers on the horseback. I thought they were superb. When they get introduced into the film, it starts to become very suspenseful. You hear about this rumor of gold, and if this rumor is true, everything is going to go crazy because everybody is striving to become and make something of themselves, to basically free themselves out of this hell that Australia has become for them. So it is definitely a movie that paints Australia in a very different light, and I really liked it. I thought this era of Australian history was very fascinating. I thought that there is a little bit of violence, but it doesn't play on violence. It's very much a psychological thriller. It's a character-driven film, and the characters, all the actors were great. I thought the children acted well beyond their years, and I thought the sister and the brother were the best parts of the movie. Although the strangers were very good, there's a lot of tension between everybody. There's an issue of trust, and you just feel sorry for everybody. There's no real villain in the films because everybody has their reasons for what they're doing, and it's just a victim of circumstances, basically being in the wrong place at the wrong time. So the harsh landscapes of Australia are beautiful, but in this case they are very harrowing as well because you just get the sheer feeling that it's just hopeless, that nothing is going to come out of it, and you can feel the desperation that these characters are feeling because Chris Stenders allows you to live the life of these people. It translates through the screen very well, and I just thought it was fascinating. It's a very slow burner, and that comes with a few problems. I thought every now and then there are pockets of the movie where it does get a little bit stale and it does kind of get stuck. The continuity isn't as good, but thankfully the good moments make up for those little pockets of negativity because it doesn't derail it. I just thought there was a little bit too much of a script. Although the script is very well written, I thought it could have just been kick-started a little bit. It does get bogged down just a tiny bit, but as I said, it doesn't derail the experience, and you won't notice it too much, but you kind of, especially at the end, I thought the end went on for a little bit too long. But thankfully, as I said, the positives far outweigh the negatives. I thought cinematography was excellent. Very depressing film, as I said. It's a very dirty feeling. It's a very depressive. It's just very powerful as well. It shows you the power of a family and a family trying to come to terms with the circumstances that they're facing and how strong a family can be. And some people can step up to the mark as far as, when they're facing these problems. And on the other hand, people who just crumble to pieces. And that's exactly what the film does. And this is yet another movie that I would say I am proud of, the fact that it's from Australia. It's definitely not the type of movie that you just get on television, the crappy Australian melodramas. This is definitely not one of them. It's a slow burner, so if you don't like slow burners, I would say stay away. But if you like something that is very suspenseful, very psychological, and very powerful and emotional, then Lucky Country is definitely one to check out. So overall, for Lucky Country, not the perfect film, but certainly right up there as far as Australian cinema is concerned. So I'm going to give Lucky Country 4 stars. I really enjoyed it. Alright guys, that's my review. Hope you enjoyed it. Till next time, keep watching movies, and I'll see you later.